Why? It's a very important question. It's one of the first questions that we ever ask. Think of how a child discovers the world around them. Why is the sky blue? Why is grass green? Why do dogs bark? Why can't I stay up late? Why? 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 And as we get older, we may ask the question less often, but it's still just as powerful. Why do you love him? Why did you take that job? Why did you choose this path? Why is where the magic happens. It's where we connect on an emotional level. It's where we really get motivated. It's what drives change, and it's what delivers success. So today, I'm going to talk about why. If I were to summarize Life-Size Media's approach to communications in just a few words, it would be that we always start with why. It's not an original idea, but it's a very powerful one. In fact, the concept was made famous by the author and business guru Simon Sinek. He says, people don't buy what you do. They buy why you do it. People don't buy what you do. They buy why you do it. Starting with why is a concept that's very familiar to consumer brands. In fact, if you look at the most successful brands in the world today, they put their why front and center. One of my favorite examples of this is Airbnb. Now, no matter what you may think of their business model, and I know that there are some strong feelings about that here in Berlin, you can't deny their success. And so much of that success comes down to their why. You see, if Airbnb sold what they do, they would be an online platform for short-term rentals. In fact, back in 2008, when the company still called themselves Air Bed and Breakfast, they described themselves as an online platform where users could rent out their space to host travelers. Does that sound like a $30 billion company to you? Today, Airbnb sell a very simple concept: belonging. They sell the promise that you can travel anywhere in the world and still be at home. What could be more powerful? And of course, there are other factors that contribute to the success of the company. But it's no accident that their why is so prominent. And it's exactly the same for every single one of the most successful brands in the world today. But let's step outside of the world of consumer marketing and take a look at the world of clean tech. It's a sector that's highly technical and complex, where marketing is often business to business, and where companies tend to be at growth stage with limited time and resources. And in this world, let's be honest, we are obsessed with what. What does our technology do? What's the route to market? What deals have we done? What investment have we raised? And in some cases, we also ask how. How are we going to outperform our competitors? How are we changing the game? How are we going to achieve our goals? And look, all of these are great questions, but the point is that they don't mean anything unless they go alongside a why. It doesn't matter that you've broken performance barriers with your technology if I don't understand why your technology is important in the first place. It's irrelevant that you've done a major distribution deal if I don't know why your product is changing the game. We have to start with why. And as I always say, in the smart, green, clean technology space, there's absolutely no shortage of why. In fact, at a fundamental level, I imagine that all of our whys are pretty similar, because business as usual is no longer viable. Because we, as a civilization, are in very, very serious trouble unless we radically change how we power and resource our lives. I can't think of a more powerful reason. But let me be clear, I'm not suggesting that you start answering the question of, why is my company here, with the answer, because we're all going to die. It doesn't work. We've tried that. Impending doom is just not an effective marketing strategy. You see, your why has to give people something to believe in. It has to inspire them. It has to delight them. And that's what I love about clean tech. Yes, the technologies and solutions that we're developing are dealing head-on with the issues of climate change, resource scarcity, inefficiency, growing population, expanding cities, air quality, and so on. But they're doing so in a way that can be really awe-inspiring. If, and it's a really big if we tell the right stories. If we start with why and take the time to capture people's hearts and minds before we get into the details of what we do. Clean tech is cool. It's sexy. Sure, it's geeky, but the good news is that geeky is now quite sexy. The point is that we have to believe that it's cool, and we have to sell it that way. Just look at how much attention virtual reality gets, or artificial intelligence, or wearables. These technologies are still immature. They're still niche in terms of market penetration, but oh my goodness, do they get people excited. They have the power to build huge audiences. They have fans. Shouldn't your tech be getting that kind of attention too? I believe that's possible, but only if we get our heads out of the details and start telling better stories. I really believe that we would see transformation in the clean tech sector if we were brave enough to do that. And starting with why isn't just about your technology. Don't underestimate the power of personal stories. I recently interviewed several clean tech investors about what they're looking for in their investments. And everyone mentioned that they are looking at the person running the company as much as the company itself. So in other words, they're betting on the jockey just as much, if not more so, than they're betting on the horse. So, what's your why? Why did you give up your comfortable corporate job to found a high-risk startup? Why do you work 12, 14, 16 hours a day on a technology no one's ever heard of? Why did you choose to work in clean tech when you could be doing something easy and fashionable like fintech? Why are you here? And are you brave enough to make that part of how you tell your story? And yes, this is big picture stuff. And maybe you're thinking, I don't have the time or money to invest in that. I'm far too busy improving the balance of plant, pitching to investors, building my production facility. Maybe you're thinking, I have a million things to do, Alisa, and telling great stories just isn't one of them. I get it. I really do. But you can't be successful without it. I don't believe that you can succeed unless you start with why. So now I've made my pitch for starting with why, I guess I better finish up by answering the question myself. What's Life-Size Media's why? What's my why? It's simple. Because the world needs clean tech. And clean tech needs great communications. I don't believe that you can succeed in any aspect of life without good communications. I think that's particularly true in business, and I think it's absolutely fundamental in an emerging and complex sector like clean tech. And to be honest, I'm very frustrated and very motivated by how many companies I see falling short because they fail to realize this simple truth. And I'm doing my best to change that. Thank you.